Remember, Sally, when I said my Budokai 3 review would be out in 3 weeks?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
I've got my Xbox hoodie on, I got my Dragon Ball Z rash guard on. I think you all know what time it is. And let me just say, this has been a hell of a ride. I got to re-experience 2 games from my childhood. One was okay, and the second was pretty good. But Budokai's a trilogy. That means 3 if your counting is off. And if you work for Namco Bandai or Valve, I can see that being pretty likely. But see, while I have history with the first 2 games, I didn't actually play Budokai 3 when it was out. I mean at all. I entirely missed out on it. I remember the ads in Shonen Jump. I saw it, the screenshots, the visage of an injured Goku as smoke billows around him, and the date, November 23rd, 2004. But then I looked down and saw something missing. Where's the GameCube logo is probably what 11-year-old me said. I'll level with you, I'm a bit of a Nintendo fanboy. I've stated it in the past, but the PlayStation line of consoles just never really gelled with me. I always liked Sega because they seemed like different sides of the same coin. If I played and liked one game on Nintendo, there was high chances I could find a pretty similar game on the Sega systems. There was a lot of overlap, but when it came to PlayStation, it just never gripped me. Games looked worse most of the time, and a lot of my favorite series, like Mega Man, Castlevania, Final Fantasy, and Chrono, all had what I still believe to be some of their worst entries in their series on the PlayStation. Now, I, a guy nearly approaching his 30s, know better. I still don't love the systems, but I can respect and appreciate what they brought to gaming as a whole. And if you're thinking that I have to find some sort of way to tie this into Budokai 3, that's literally the reason I never played it. And oh boy, was I stupid. I was so fucking stupid. I thought Budokai 2's opening was hype-inducing, but Budokai 3's blows your goddamn balls off. You have everything you could possibly want from a Dragon Ball Z opening. Goku and Frieza locking up, Broly and Gogeta throwing hands, and it all ends with Super Saiyan 4 Goku charging at the shadowy image of Omega Shenron. God damn! That shit gives me goosebumps. Right off the bat, we're just seeing all sorts of shit we could only have had dreamed of at the time, and we're seeing it in official material. Like, this isn't fan fiction. Like, I mean, it kind of is fan fiction, but this shit's really happening. Well, it can't let me down now. It would be a great disservice to the people that had to animate that if the game that follows this intro turns out to be complete dog shit. I mean, this game is regarded as the best Dragon Ball Z games ever made. I'm sure it has to be okay, at the least. Let's try it out. Let's see what it's like. It's good. It's not just good. It's fucking awesome. Why did I let my blind fanboyism prevent me from playing this? This game is it's a masterpiece. It's fucking beautiful. The shit should be preserved in a fucking museum. On a wall. Like with some pretentious Andy Warhol shit. Budokai 3 is so far and above what Budokai's 1 or 2 were, it truly is further beyond. Strikes are faster, snappier, and now you actually have defensive options in the form of sways and snap vanishes. This game even has beam struggles. Fucking beam struggles! We haven't had a Dragon Ball game on consoles with beam struggles in almost 7 years. And this game from 2004 is doing it with fucking style. This is some insane shit. And throws! Throws are part of your moveset by default. I have never, ever in my life been so happy by the inclusion of something considered a fighting game standard. Like, believe me, just imagine if you couldn't throw in Street Fighter or Tekken unless you had a special item for it. Being able to throw without sacrificing one of your customization slots is a big deal. And yeah, let's talk about the gameplay a bit more. Honestly, the fighting this time around is a lot closer to what you'd see in the show. It seems that with every passing game, Budokai is getting closer and closer to just being an interactive version of the anime. Budokai 1 had a lot of the jank earlier 3D fighting games were known for, and while Budokai 2 improved many things, a lot of that jank still remained. But Budokai 3, like, goddamn, it's the same picture. New to Budokai 3 is the idea of beam clashes. If moves of similar properties collide, then both players enter a small minigame where they get to ruin their analog sticks to push the other player's attack back at them. Yeah, this is the same basic idea as that burst mechanic from the first two games. God damn if it isn't cool as fuck. This honestly is my favorite feature in the entire game. The idea of turning an attack into a defensive tool is far and above one of the best things I've ever seen in a fighting game. And it helps create some really hype moments. Like, I can imagine if Budokai 3 were played in major tournaments, that some of the most memorable matches would end with this. Another new feature is that you can now teleport behind your opponent, making them think twice about charging in all willy-nilly. My only issue with these is that they cost meter, but a lot of the time this game just gives meter out like fucking Halloween candy, making that requirement meant to nerf the mechanic a lot less restrictive than it's supposed to be. I do, however, like that you can combo into teleports, which means that for the first time in the series, you can combo off of specials. Few things in life are as satisfying as launching your opponent across the screen and then kicking them back to where they came from, but you can't get too cocky because your opponent can do all this shit too. But despite all these new features, the game isn't without some downright stupid mechanics. The one thing a lot of people always told me sucked was hyper mode. Your ultimates are all locked behind it, and while it gives you super armor for as long as you have ki, it causes the gameplay to grind to a screeching halt. Now that my opponent has super armor, all of his attacks have priority over mine, so I tend to just play high stakes keep away so they can't pop off an ultimate, or worse, use Dragon Rush. Dragon Rush is this QTE that lasts fucking forever. It has 3 stages and you just guess which button your opponent is going to press. Get it right, and you avoid damage. Get it wrong, and sometimes you can eat north of 1,500 points of damage. And the AI is hell-bent on using Dragon Rush as often as it can. The main issue with Dragon Rush is it lasts so damn long. You have to sit through the charge-up animation, watch them beat each other up, sit through more charging, watch some more fighting, then some more charging, and okay, hold on one fucking second here. They just adapted the show. No, not like Budokai 1 did. Like, the pacing. What's the one thing everybody complains about in Dragon Ball Z? It's the long wait between the action. You know how it goes. Vegeta's got someone on the ropes, they charge up for 12 minutes and then fight for 2. And here that is in the game. It's almost spiteful how much this matches the flow of the anime. But if you can get past those 2 flaws, Budokai 3 is the absolute best Dragon Ball game thus far. Not only does it do its best to emulate the series, flaws and all, but it succeeds in almost every way possible. I say almost because the game is probably the least Dragon Ball looking game in the entire series. Characters have these sharp, jagged edges, looking more like something out of a show like Samurai Jack than Dragon Ball Z. Everyone is also weirdly shiny and doesn't mesh well with the stages, and even in the HD version, a lot of the textures are blurry and not well defined. Speaking of which, they opted for that more flat, featureless art style of Budokai 2, probably so that the original PS2 version could hit a decent frame rate. There was no GameCube port of 3 to serve as the better option here. Everyone looks weirdly off-model in this game, and characters just have that flat, airbrushed abs look. But really, I'd say that the graphics being the second worst thing in the entire game is pretty evident of how high quality the rest of it is. And I know I will catch all sorts of shit for this. The absolute worst is the story mode. Dragon Universe, on paper, sounds awesome. It sounds fun. But it's a lot like Dragon World from Budokai 2, only that while Dragon World was a bad idea done poorly, Dragon Universe is a great idea marred by very, very spotty execution. The game's story mode this time around, dubbed Dragon Universe, because Budokai decided to just skip Land and Galaxy, I guess, has you picking one of many characters and flying around exploring the world of Dragon Ball, while going through the motions of the show's plot, collecting Dragon Balls, and unlocking other characters to slap your friends with. Dragon Universe, at its core, is a very, 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 can't stress this enough, very light RPG. You fight battles, gain experience, and level up your stats so that future battles are a little bit easier. There's even towns and NPCs to visit, which, while they don't offer you as much as a town in a real big boy RPG does, it's still there. My problem stems from the fact that so much of Dragon Universe is spent flying from point A to point B, but with point B sometimes just being a small cutscene before sending you off to another cutscene. That may or may not have a fight at the end. It feels like, again, that the developers didn't respect the player's time, and many sagas have several minutes of flying about, going to one spot, talking to someone, then being sent off to another location to see somebody else talk. Also, I hate these cutscenes. It's just a speech bubble with artwork. I fucking hate it in Persona. I hate it here. I hate it in every single game it's in. It's so lazy. Animate the fucking characters. You spent so much money on those 3D models. Get them moving on screen. And okay, I wouldn't be totally against a Dragon Ball visual novel. But when I pop in a game called Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, I expect some goddamn Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Another issue stems from when you're hunting down Dragon Balls. Each saga has a set number of the magical orbs to be found, and if you somehow missed one prior to fighting that saga's boss, you will have to restart your run with that character all over again just to be able to go back and get it. This makes finding Dragon Balls way more tedious than it has any right to be. Even Budokai 2 did it better by giving you many chances to find the balls, and while Dragon World was far from perfect, or even good, it at least knew when to throw the player a freaking bone. It's even worse when you try to do some of the side missions, some of which are required to do in order to unlock certain characters. For example, in order to unlock Gogeta, you have to play Vegeta's story. But at the part where he gets brought back to life in the Buu saga, instead of going to fight Buu, you have to fly to Muscle Tower, talk to the Supreme Kai, then fly back to Buu, fight him twice, then you can go fight Broly. But don't! Because you have to go to a random spot on the map, then fly to Kami's Lookout, then to another random spot on the map, then you can go find Goku, who will fight you as a Super Saiyan 4, then you get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. How was I supposed to know to do all of that? How is anyone supposed to know to do any of that? That's some Zelda shit. And not in the good way. I'm not asking for the game to hold my hand, but an NPC to say, hey, some purple dude with a fucking mullet flew up north. Or some shit. Like, maybe a clue. A few things on this planet bring my blood to a boil, but this game hits all the right spots. But honestly, it's kind of because it's so close to perfection that when it has problems, they irk me a little more. It's bad when a game outright sucks, but when a game is so close to being perfect, yet is bogged down by some just questionable game designs that couldn't have sounded good even when they were pitched for the game, is a lot worse. Okay. I need to just calm down. Surely there's some other good things to balance literally all of that out. Budokai 3's story mode delves a lot deeper than the past two games, as managing to beat Boo nets you some post-game content that covers the end of Z and parts of GT. In fact, GT gets a small bit of representation in the form of Goku and Vegeta's Super Saiyan 4 forms and Omega Shenron. Sadly, no Baby or Super 17, and out of the movies, we only get Cooler, Broly, and Bardock. Assuming you count Legend of Bardock as a movie. I do. For a total of 6 new fighters, bringing the roster up to 35. Even Kid Goku is present this time, and honestly, anything that pays reference to the original Dragon Ball has a space reserved in the cold, opaque blackness of my heart. Mind you, we did lose Tiencha and Gokul in the process, and that does sort of bum me out just a little bit. Budokai 3 is also loaded with small details. I like how when you knock out your opponent, the scouter that houses their life bar cracks, or just straight up explodes if you finish them with a super. It's things like this that push games from being good to great. I also like how you can now play with the Japanese voices, so you don't have to hear everyone being voiced by Chris Sabat. Dragon Ball, as a series, is not well known for being well animated. When it does have good animation, it's really good. Some of the movies in particular stand out to me, with early titles like The Dead Zone having near Ghibli quality animation. While a lot of the series, due to being a long-running weekly show, had to sacrifice animation due to budget or time constraints. The fact of the matter is, animation is difficult, and it's expensive, and doubly so when you're doing it on cells, where a mistake costs you time and money and could potentially derail the entire episode currently being worked on. So, imagine my shock to find that this game has some really good animation. Like, it doesn't look one-to-one like the show does, to the point of recreating animation flaws on purpose a la Dragon Ball FighterZ, but everything moves so smoothly and perfectly. Every punch, kick, super dash, kamehameha, they all look amazing and fluid. Even the simple act of just turning around in Dragon Universe has a level of detail it really didn't need. And they say that if you close your eyes during the high-speed skirmishes, you can hear the animators screaming about how much they hate their lives and working 90-hour work weeks. To call Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 the best Dragon Ball game back in 2004 would not have been an understatement. I mean, we had some shit, the bar wasn't exactly high, but this game kinda elevated it quite a bit. It's such a fantastic, well-made game that it kind of became a bit of a meme to say, even if you're not a fan, when describing it to people. And yeah, this is kind of a Dragon Ball game meant not just for fans of Dragon Ball, but for fans of just well-made, fun, exciting fighting games. Everything here is so goddamn close to perfect, from the speed to the mechanics to the animation. Budokai 3 really is the complete package. It really, truly is. For all of its flaws, like the stupid guessing minigame and the story mode that's not nearly as fun as it should be, Budokai 3's core gameplay shines through with bone-crunching results. Every punch feels satisfying and painful. Every blast has the same feeling and grandeur as they do in the show. And every time you launch your opponent up into the air and volley them like a one-man game of tennis, it brings a smile to my cynical face. Budokai 3 is the culmination of all the struggles and hardships that the Budokai series has had to endure up to this point. It takes nearly everything from the past two games and refines them into a sharp razor's edge. And even when you're on the receiving end of a bad beatdown, you still smile, thinking just about how damn fun this game is. And while the gameplay is 90% fucking amazeballs, Hyper Mode and Dragon Rush really do drag it down. Worse yet is Dragon Universe. It sounds fun, it has potential to be fun. I mean, later games in the franchise have done similar things, but much better. It offers a lot of content, sure, but all the content in the world doesn't matter when it's not very good. Dragon Universe is a time sink, and way too limiting to actually be fun or worthwhile. In fact, if I didn't have to play it to unlock most of the characters, I probably wouldn't have. But this isn't the end of the Budokai name, or series, as Budokai would be spun off into two other series, the ridiculously named Budokai Tenkaichi, that's name gives me an asthma attack just by saying it, as well as the PSP exclusive Shin Budokai series. It even kinda got a bit of a reboot in the form of Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit, which was the first game in the series to be HD and feature online multiplayer, assuming you don't count the Wii version of Tenkaichi 3. God, even Tenkaichi 3 is a mouthful. Wow. I would find smaller mouthfuls on Grindr. It also did get a sequel, though it dropped the Budokai name from the title and was just called Infinite World. It's said to be literally everything that Budokai 3 is, and then some, but it's also pretty rare and expensive, being a late PS2 game that launched in 2008. If I can ever get my hands on it, you can bet both sides of your ass that I will review it. I could emulate it, but I'd really rather it not come to that. But that will be a review for another day. For next time, I think it's time I went back to my roots. Checked in on an old friend. Till next time.